Horayos daf Yud Amud Aleph with starting from Testament base from the new Pedek Kohen HaMashiach. Okay. Sagt the Mishnah. This is we were starting from Testament base. That is Yud Amud Aleph. Kohen Mashiach, a Kohen Gadol that was anointed with the special oil. Midem is given a Kohen Gadol. With the Shemen HaMishcha was a special oil. And that Shemen HaMishcha, even when it was given Ois Kohen Gadol, the Kedusha remained. It was a very special. The Shemen kept him going. The Kedusha kept it up. The level of Kohen Gadol. So you want a Kohen Gadol shachata that he sinned. And then he had a mum kavua, or he became old and he couldn't serve anymore. He's no more serving as a Kohen Gadol. Now, does he bring the carbon? Because the Aveda happened when he was a Kohen Gadol. And then he was relieved of his services because he had a mum kavua, or he became old. A melech. A melech. He lost. He did Aveda. Why was it?
Because he's so big, they have a big Yisroel too. Looks like.
Sure. So while he was a melech, he sinned.
That's what I'm saying.
So they removed him from the melucha. So it says, you want a Kohen Mashiach maybe par. Kohen Mashiach brings a chatos, like he was supposed to bring at the time when he sinned, when he was a Kohen Gadol. A nasi, maybe sorry. And a nasi, he brings like at the time of the chet, when he was a melech. So how about Mashiach first? He wasn't a Kohen when he sinned. They removed him, and then he sinned. So his sin is outside hedges, really. And so too a king.
So what's the
Oh, so no, there's a difference. Kohen Mashiach may be part. The Kohen Mashiach brings a part like as if he was a Kohen Gadol. Why? Because you're right, because of the Shemen HaMishcha, that's what made him the Kedusha remain in that level. That's why I gave you the Hakdama. For later too, even when he's not a Kohen Gadol and he sins, it's as if when he was a Kohen Gadol. But a Nasi, if he sinned after he was removed from the Melucha, no, that's exactly what it is. See, then he brings a she-goat like every Hajjit. So now that you're saying that if he was removed from his services as a Kohen Gadol, and then you're saying if he did Aveda when he wasn't a Kohen Gadol anymore, it was after they removed him, and nevertheless you said he brings a par. So what do I need the first case for? Chata, that he sinned while he was a Kohen Gadol, and then he was removed. Do I have to say that case? Of course he has to bring a par. We're telling you, even if he sinned when he was no more Kohen Gadol, he still has to bring. The Chiddush was by Nasi. What was by Nasi? If he sinned after he was no more king, he brings like a hedget. But if he sinned when he was a king and then he was removed, then he brings like a Nasi. So since you had to make that chilik, so he wanted to finish the Mishnah in a uniform way. But not that you had to say it by Kohen Gadol. You're right, it's a Kavachema, but he wanted to finish off in the same uniform. He says, since you already learned the Mishnah learned the Gab Mashiach, so that's why he also learned by Mashiach, maybe Pam. But really, he didn't have to learn it. He brought it in a uniform way. Okay, so from where do we learn out that a Kohen Mashiach that was removed from being a Kohen Gadol, and then he sins, he still has to bring a part? Where? So Rabbanan said, it says by Vehikiv El Chatose. This Al Chatose is extra. The Lamed Shebei Chatos Mishalva, that he brings a Chatos even though he sinned after he was a Kohen Gadol. He says, Pasha, it's extra words. What do I need this Pasha? Extra words? Sheyachal, I could have learned it like this. Ma leidinu, it's a Kavachema. Ma Nasi. Ma Dachanasi. Shemei V'chatas B'Shikigas Maisa. That he has to bring already a chatas just for shigigas ma'isa itself, without having a erroneous psak, without having a helam dava. A nasi is more chamor. He brings for nothing. He already has to bring a chatas just for being a shegig. Maybe chata.
So everybody brings it now. Doesn't everybody have to bring the chatas?
No. What, so he said, maybe shigigas ma'isa, maybe chatas. But he doesn't bring a chatas mishav migdulasei. But once the gedula was removed, he doesn't, and then he sinned. He doesn't. Mashiach, which is the din is more lenient because shekenu maybe chatas mishigas ma'isa. She'ain maybe chatas mishigas ma'isa levad. He cannot bring a chatas just mishigas ma'isa. Eladavka, if he had al helam dava im shigas ma'isa, he need both. Kol shekain that he shouldn't bring a chatas if he sinned after he was removed from being a kohen gadol. Talmud lema. That's why it says v'hikev al chatasei. That's why we needed the pasuk v'hikev al chatasei to teach us malamish maybe al chatas mishava that he will bring. Because mitzad kavachema, I would have said he shouldn't bring. Because madach nasi, who's more chamor, just for shigas ma'isa, he already has to. Yeah, because for shigas ma'isa lane, that Hashem bring a carbon. And when it comes to Mashiach, shigas ma'isa, he's part of carbon. He needs still helam dava. He needs the psak. So zayin a mistake. So the kavachim is madach nasi, which is the cow. If he was removed from his nasius and then sin, he doesn't bring a carbon. For sure. The one that's more chamor should not bring a carbon.
Mashiach.
Yeah. Okay, that's why we need al chatasi to tell us that he has to bring a carbon.
Otherwise, I'm learning
That he doesn't have to. Correct. Zaki mother, when I see nami nasi mikavachema, he says now that you learn from the pasuk that Kohen Mashiach brings a carbon, right? Kohen Mashiach brings a carbon even if he sinned after he's no more Kohen. In fact, the mother when I see nami sanim nasi mikavachema, let's learn out nasi with a kavachema that he should bring a carbon also if he sinned after he was Kohen Gadol, if he was Malach. How? Maybe Mashiach, which is a lighter, because he doesn't bring a carbon for Shigas itself.
He needs a helam dava first.
He needs a helam dava. Oh, but maybe chatas, but you still say he brings a chatas mishava for the past, as if he was a kohen gadol nasi.
When he's not a kohen gadol.
Yeah, when he's not a kohen gadol, he should bring like when for the past that he was a kohen gadol, that same severity. So nasi, maybe chatas mishigas ma'isa, nasi that does bring mishigas ma'isa,
and he doesn't need a helam.
And he doesn't need a helam dava. And he didn't. Maybe chatas mishalva. For sure, you should have to bring a chatas. Talmud lema. That's why in the pasuk it says asher nasi yechta. If the lashon asher is not the normal lashon. If you look at all the three psukim there in that pasha, it says im hakoyin mashiach yechta, im kol adas yisrael, al says v'im nefesh hakel. But here it says asher nasi. Asher, like all the other places. So the Asher that he changed the lashon is to tell us that kishu nasi, if he sinned while he's a nasi in that bringing a carbon, then he has to bring a carbon. Kishu hedget, yes, he has to bring the carbon that the soy here. But if he sinned kishu hedget loy, he doesn't bring a soy a he goat, he brings seira like a hedget, a she goat.
So he was a nasi before.
Correct. Sagt the Mishnah Chatu, if the Nasi or the Kohen HaMashiach were a Shoygeg, At Shaloi Nismano. Now we're talking about before they were appointed as a Kohen Gadol, or before he was appointed as a king, he sinned, and then he became a Ganzer Kohen Gadol. He's like a hedged, and he has to bring a kisbois here, like a hedged.
Well, you can't make him a kohen of nasi retroactive.
Backwards, no, he was never there.
Since he was born.
Rabbi Shimon, you can't put him on the chazaka. The chazaka before he was a hedged. Rabbi Shimon, if the chet was also he became the awareness of the sin was before he was appointed as a king or as a kohen gadol. Then chayav, then he has to bring it as a hedged. But if the Haidah happened, Umeshinismanu, he became the awareness of his sin came after he became a king or
But he
Kohen
knew that he
Gadol.
sinned before, but even though
But he sinned before, then he's Petunim Lagamni. He doesn't bring anything.
So what do you mean
Because
he,
he-
he himself became aware?
He himself became aware of his sin. But when? If he became aware before he was appointed, then he'll still bring like a hedget. But if he became aware of the sin after he became into the high position as a king or Kohen Gadol,
Then he has to.
then he brings nothing because you need side the Haidah and side the Chet with the Haidah and zusammen in the same position. In fact, you want to say, Nasi, who is a Nasi? It goes on a king. Shadar, like it says in the pasuk, Hashem Nasi yachtav elasach mikol mitzvahs Hashem eleikov. She'ein al gaba el Hashem eleikov. The only one that's above is Hashem eleikov. So the Gemara later on will explain. Don't think because it says Hashem Elakav, it means the only one is above him is Hashem Elakav. It's a Gzeira Shava, really. Because in the Mashmois of the Pasuk doesn't mean the only one. We're talking about a person, the only one above him is Hashem Elakav. It's really a Gzeira Shava that we come to that conclusion. Huh? He says the Mashmois, the Pshat in the Pasuk doesn't mean that only Hashem Elakav is above him. That's not what it's talking about in the Pasuk. It says it's a Gzeira Shava. Okay, so from where do we learn out the Makar that if the Nasi or the Kohen HaMashiach sinned before they were appointed, that they bring like a hedget? From where do we know that? It says, Ima Kohen HaMashiach Yachta. The Mashmois of the Pasuk is talking about by a chet, that when he was already a Kohen, HaKohen HaMashiach. And then it says, as a Kohen HaMashiach Yachta, he sinned. So it's mashma prat l'koinmis. It comes to exclude if he sinned before he was a Kohen HaMashiach, it's not going to be chayav. We can learn out from that Kavachema that a Kohen Mashiach doesn't bring a par only if he sinned after he became Kohen Gadol. How? Umar Nasi, Ma the Chanasi. Maybe b'shigras Maisa, Ma the Chanasi, which is more chamor. He brings right away a carbon just for shigras Maisa. Maybe he has to bring a chatos, ala koidmeis. And on the Avedis that happened before, so what? Maybe Allah I'm sorry. Maybe Allah but he does not bring on the Avedis that happened before. That's by Nasi, right? So maybe but Mashiach, which is more lenient, it's more lenient. No, it's not going to bring a carbon just for Shigas Maisa. It needs Helam Dava. It's more chamas, so for sure, Sharei maybe chatas ala dava im shiga ma'isa, and he shelo yavi ala kaidus. But sure, he shouldn't bring before he became Kohen Gadol. It's like you can't make the kavachem. I could slug it up. How? Imamat b'nasi, by nasi doesn't mean a chatas for the Aveda that happened before he became Nasi, Shekaim, because we find that the Torah was makel by him. Einu maybe Chatase Mishava. We know that if he became Nasi, he was Nasi, and then became Ois Nasi, and he doesn't Aveda. Does he bring on the Chazaka? No. Mashain came Torah became Mashiach. If Mashiach, he was a Kohen Gadol, and then he became Ois Kohen Gadol and he did Aveda, he still brings a par. So Kohen Mashiach is more chamor. So he says, don't say Kohen Mashiach is more lighter, it's more chamor. Misha'avar, maybe chatas misha'avar. Hoyu maybe chatas misha'avar. So since we're more machmir on the Kohen Gadol, that if they became Ois Kohen Gadol and he sins, we say he still brings the par. So I say, Yavi ala Kohen too. He should have the chumrah. Just like we're machmir ifta, you should have the machmir if he sinned before becoming a Kohen Gadol.
And then he became a Kohen.
Yeah. Talmud Leiman comes the pasuk and says, "Ima Kohen Mashiach yachta, chata kishu Mashiach maybe." Only if he sinned when he's a Mashiach, then maybe he brings kishu hedger maybe, but when he's a hedger he doesn't bring. Tanya nami gabi nasi kai gavna. We learned benegay nasi in the same way. That it says in the Torah Nasi Yechta. So the mashmais of the pasuk is a chet when he was already a Nasi. Prat lekoidnes to exclude avedas that happened before he was appointed as a Nasi. There he doesn't bring a chatos, so we have he brought you a raisa. That's the raisa. So here too the raisa is, why do you need a pasuk? Halaydinu. We can learn out with a Kavachemel. Ma Mashiach, which is more chamor. Shemei v'chatasei mishavar. That if the kuna, he was a kohen gadol, and Avar, the kohen gadol, it was removed, and then he sinned. He still has to bring. Maybe nevertheless, you say he doesn't have to bring from before he became appointed as a kohen gadol. Nasi, which is more kal. Maybe it's chatas mishavar. That if he did a sin after he became ois nasi, we say he doesn't bring a korban. Of course. So Yimana Ma Mashiach, you can slug up the Kavachayma because Kohen Mashiach is more lenient. Shekain ain maybe b'shigigas ma'isa. It cannot bring a korban just for shigig ma'isa. Only if he had helam dava also. Toima benasi is more chamashu maybe b'shigigas ma'isa levad. Only as shigigas ma'isa itself. Maybe b'shigas ma'isa yavi ala kaimis. I'll say since you have the chumrah that b'shigas ma'isa alein is chayiv, so you should have to bring for even before he was nismana to a kohen gadol. Talmud Leimer comes the pasuk asher nasi yachva, meaning rak al masha chata, meaning as a vadehu nasi. Only while being a nasi and he sinned, that's when he brings a korban. V'lo shechata vadehu hedjed, but not when he sinned while he was a hedjed before he was appointed to a nasi. I would have thought it's a gzeira min hashemayim that the nasi with zicha zindikin. Asher was the nasi with zicha zindikin. So it says Gemara Talmud Leimer Ma'akein Mashiach yechta. So ma'ala halam l'kishay yechta means doesn't mean for sure he's going to sin. If it happens that he'll sin, but it's not a vadai. It's like im. It's avkan l'kishayachta means im if he'll sin. Amama.
I said even though it says lashon
Asher, right? Amama. So the Tana says, listen, Yochel gzeira mehechatesa. He says, where do we find such a pirush that they, for sure that the speaks about that this person will for sure sin? Where do you see such a thing? Zog the Yimada, make a taste. Zog the Yimada Amni, there is. Ashkan, I find the seed that says, when the Sati Neget Zeras, the Veis Eretz HaChuzasim, Seire Ra Hilahem, Shana going by him Alein. The Davish that tells them in the future, you're going to have houses, there'll be Tzeras on the walls, you're going to have to break up the house. The Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon Leimer Pratli Nigei Oinosin. It's coming to tell you exclusion of a negoyim of a oinus, meaning a negoyim that come on its own, but not that it came from outside. Like here he brings down and through a shed blowing and making a hezek. It was a natural thing. So he says like this: Lab Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Is it that not that Rabbi Yehuda says in the pasuk with Pashan negoyim is a pseira for the yidden? It's a bad psura. So too by the Chatas Hanasi, I would have said, it's excited that the Nasi but Zinikin. He'll conceive im. That's why it's written in the Pasha, im yachta, to teach us that here also the Kavanah is, it's not for sure he's going to sin. If he'll sin, that's what it means. So like Gemara Lodas Reb
So when does
Shimon.
it say Asher Nasi? It says
That's what he means. Asher is Asher Nasi yachta. Means im. He'll conceive. Im meaning im yachta from we do sheyachta and sheyachta in both places, which means we learn out what Exeter Shabbat it means im. It doesn't mean for Hashem for sure. Well, that's Shimon nami lo mitamol. The negoyim that come because of an outside hezek should not be metama. But Tanya, that's what we said. It's not metama. Thank you, but Tanya, but we learned in the Braisa. It says in the Torah B'negei Tzeras Haguf, Adam Tiyiyah Be'er Psarei, the Lashon Asid. So here you see the Tum Tzeras is only Min Hadibah Ve'elech. It's only from Matan Torah on. Now he's talking about the Nigei Oinsin are not somebody who became who got Tzeras, a person who got a Tzeras, or became a Zav because of an Einus. How could it be an Einus? Einus is not because of a sickness, because he ate too much or he carried something very heavy. That's einus. That it's metame, but that these tumors don't happen only from when from when the Eibishter gave the Torah, from Matan Torah and on. So you might have we learn out that those Negoyim are only from when the Eibishter gave the Torah, right? It says Timeh Bezav, Timeh Negoyim. The Torah was going on to Mazav and Tumas Nigitzeras. And we learn out Ma Tumazav Nehekzak V'ziv Shabbat Minati B'Vahila. Just like Tumazav is only from when the Eibishter gave the Torah and on, like it says in the Torah, Ish Kiyya. Let's go over here.
Thank you very much.
Ish. You're welcome. So he says Ish. It says in the Torah, Kiyya Zav Nepsari B'Lashon Asid. So it says in the future, after the Torah will be given, there'll be the concept of Tumazav, Af Negoyim. So too, Negoyim is also Minadiv Availach, from Matan Torah and on. Why do we need a special pasuk to tell us that the Negoyim, the Tumas Negoyim, will be applicable only from after Matan Torah and on, but before Matan Torah it won't be applicable? He's talking about Nigayoinsin is also part of the afterwards. Yeah, Negoyim that come because of an outside from a shed blowing on it. Those Negoyim. That's called the outside Gram.
But what about Oisim?
That's a different type of oinus.
It could be that you said, like you said, he ate too much.
Right. So, but he says this is only applicable. All these tumas are only applicable from when? From after Matan Torah. He says, that's by Ziva. Okay, so what is he saying? So that's all. He wants to, but the Braisa wants to teach us that this whole union of Neged Saras wasn't applicable before Matan Torah. It only happened after Matan Torah. So the Gemara, Loi, it's impossible to learn
Get out of here.
the din. So the Gemara says, Loi, you can't learn the din of Tumas Saras from Tumas Zav. Why? Because Imamat Zav, that it's not Matamim, only from, meaning it's not Matamim Beziva. By Ziva, there's all kinds of Tumas. By Ziva, that if he sees once or twice, he's not tummy for 7 days. All he has to do is be table himself. If he sees 3 times, then he has to. It says Ziva Gedela, Zava Gedela. Then he has to wait 7 days, and maybe even bring a carbon. Here it says, then I'm sorry, he counts 1, or if he sees a ziva twice in 1 day on 2 consecutive days, then he has to count 7 nikiyim. And if he sees more than that, then he has to bring a carbon also. If he sees shleishi yam ritzufim, tzarich ben noisev lakach lahavi carbon ben noisev to the 7 days, he has to bring a carbon. So the Yamada,
Yes, go to mikveh too?
huh?
You go to mikveh?
Yeah, for mikveh for sure, if he's 2 or more. But if it's 2 days or 2 in 1 day or 2 consecutive days, he saw Zava. But more than that, he would have to bring a carbon besides the Shibin Nakim.
What korban was he?
Huh?
Shay korban.
It doesn't say what kind of a carbon.
All
It
right.
says carbon Zava. Okay. It's impossible to learn out Tum Serat from Tum Zav because Imam Matam is Zava. By Zava, he's not Matama only by Ziv, only from Matan Torah on, because it's more lenient. Shekain a Matama Be'enes, because it doesn't automatically become Tameh. If it was an Enes because he carried heavy things, like we said before, or he ate too much and he had Zava, then he doesn't bring, and he doesn't have to wait Shivin
He's like
Nakim.
Ines.
Eines, yeah. Oh, no, Eines bringt nicht by Zava. Toima ben Negoyim shehem metamim b'Eines. That by Negoyim is metamim b'Eines. So therefore, I would have said maybe by Negoyim is applicable even before Matan Torah. Tamalei comes a passage and says, "Adam kiyiya b'Bisari b'Lashon Asid min adiba b'Eilech," meaning the Torah didn't have to say Adam ki it seems like there was a yitur. I'm just trying to find out which words were the yitur. He doesn't say what the yitur was. We had it before. Adam ki So therefore, it seems like that pasuk was extra. Adam ki to tell us that min hadib ve'elach, that it's gonna, even though by Zava it's more lenient because as a oinus it doesn't bring carbon. So I would have thought it's not applicable to be that it should be applicable even before Matan Torah. So
It says kiyah.
Adam Kiyi, babe said, in order to tell us, even the Goyim, I'm sorry, not Zav, even the Goyim are Matama Minadib and not before. Before Matan Torah. So the kasha is, over here you see, from this Braisa, about learning before and after Matan Torah, you said that what? That Nagoyim are going to be Matama in B'Einas. And that's how you wanted to say that you needed a pasuk Adam Kiyi B'Eibasarei, the extra words to tell you even Nagoyim is only from Matan Torah and on. Because Nagoyim is more chamor that it's Matama B'Einas. But we just said it's not Matama B'Einas before. So Gemara Rava says, Prat L'Nigei Ruches. It is Matama B'Einas, but there's two different einsin. There's einsin that come from a shed, or einsin that comes natural. Prat L'Nigei. Huh? That's what he says over here. L'uma zeis mashenam mebraisa shegam niga einsin Matama hakavar l'Nagoyim haba ayidei ma'aseh adam. Like by mistake he hit the wall, he got a wound, or he got a clap. So that's how he got the nega. That's a man-made nega.
That's the last, isn't it?
Yeah. Papa ma prat lenigik shofim, to exclude nigik shofim, that if it came from witchcraft, that type of oinus is not going to be considered as oinus. It's not going to be matama. Tanu Rabbana, Rabbana Yolent, Asher Nasi Yechta. It says Asher Nasi Yechta prat lechayla. It's coming to exclude a king that became ill, and he was removed from his malucha, so he doesn't bring a soy, he doesn't bring a he-goat, rather he brings a she-goat. Because, in fact, because he became sick, he was removed from being a king. No, we're not talking about stam sickness. He caught a cold, and he has a cough, he's no more melech. No. Or COVID. What kind of a nasi is removed from a melech if he had a tzaras? Remember, Hashem HaMelech, Uziyahu was a king. And Uziyahu wanted to be also do the kihuna. And the Kohen Gadol was like chastising him and telling him, what are you doing? He came to do the Aveda of a Kohen Gadol. So immediately he got a tzaras and he was removed from being a king. And he became a mitzvah till the rest of his life. And he sat in the Freedom House. Vayoisem ben Uziyahu. Here it says Vayoisem ben Amelech. Oh, the Gemara is going to ask. Vayoisem ben Melech, and Yoisem, the son of Uziyahu, took over the rulership halabayis. Okay. In fact, the Gemara in the comment of Vayoisem Chavshis Mekal Hashla. What are you saying? Uziyahu was a king, and you said when he became his king, he became a free man. What says the free man?
King is a king.
So that's Chayisa. King is Meshubit to the mansion. That's what he wants to say. He's Meshubit. He's like an Eved. Like the story of Rabbi Gamil when Rabbi Yeshua went in a boat. The Hadid Rabbi Gamil have a pita. Rabbi Gamil brought with him bread. The Hadid Rabbi Yeshua have a pita with silta. Rabbi Yeshua said bread is not enough. I'm going to have flour just in case it's going to be a longer journey. Flour is more preserved, so you'll make bread later. Okay. What happened? Shlim is the Rabbi Gamil. In the traveling, bread is finished by Rabbi Gamil. Samach hasul to the Rabbi Yeshua. So we'll say on the flour of Rabbi Yeshua. Amalei, so Rabbi Gamil, who was the Nasi Adai, he said to Rabbi Yeshua, did you know that the journey is going to be so long that you needed to have silas, you needed some flour?
You need to prepare yourself.
How do you know to prepare yourself? Amalei, he said, he says there's one star, that in the olden times they used to follow a star, the direction of the star. But he says once in 70 years another star would come to that place with the star they followed on for directions, and it would fablungency, and it would take them a wrong direction. Then they would have to make a U-turn and go back.
Like a GPS.
So he knew that might happen because it was that time. Yeah.
Like a lens.
Ramati Shemayala. And I said, maybe that star is going to be there and fablungen. So on the late, Gamil said to him, "Yishu kol kach b'yadcha." So much wisdom you have in your hands, and you're going to do business you with such smarts. What are you joking? Gamil said, "I'm there for the cloud. I travel to take up the exedas of a duv. You're going for Parnasa. What do you need the boats for?"
For first class.
So Rabbi Yeshua said, before you wonder and ask me, you should wonder about your Talmudim. You have geniuses. Good enough that they are so smart. They're able to evaluate how many drops is there in the ocean. Yeah. And Ein Lehem Lechel Pas. And they have no money, and you have the genius. So you see,
Like the mirrors.
right? So you see, so then right away, when Rabbi Gamil heard about his two Talmidim, he wanted to make them as a leader. The people will give them money. Kishallah, when he came to the Abasha, he sent for them. He said to come. They didn't want to come. They didn't want a high position. Then second time he sent them, and they came. What do you think? I'm giving you a position, a high position, and that's why you're running away? You think I'm giving you leadership, but it's not leadership. Leadership, it's not a high position. That's avadim.
Like Pesach.
No, a nasi, he wants to bring a melech zabed. He has to, he's meshubet to the am. So never, like it says by Recham and Shleima. So he had two positions. He had the elders, the older Chacham from David HaMelech, and he had his friends, the Tumpech, and he wanted, so the elders told him, don't high the taxes so much, because if you're going to lose everybody. And he says, you have to be ever to the people. The people are saying they can't pay, you got to listen to them. And he listened to his friends, and he lost the Melucha. Yerabim ben Nevat took away 3/4 of the Melucha. So you see that if you'll be today a Evet, you'll give in to their taxes, you won't take so much, then you'll have the people. So you see it's a Evet, a Lashon Evet. So you see a leader is a Evet. It's a Melech. So he was saying that's why he said Beis HaChavshis. Was he went into the Freedom House because till now he's Meshubah. Oh, finally. Okay. Sag dir mal, tell you about gelernt. Asher nasi yacht bishgaga. The heaviest kabon. Am yekna zakai. Ashrei praised hadir sha nasi shaloi. Maybe kabon ashkig say. Praised is the generation that its nasi brings a carbon, and it knows that when he doesn't have it, he has to bring a carbon. The nasi, the kenig. Ima nasi shaloi maybe carbon. Tzarchat leima mawa hedge. Then for sure, the Yoitim will follow. Maybe carbon, what will he do if he's amazing? Of course, he'll do tshuva. And the people will follow. Only now, you said Asher is a lashon of praise. As you saw, like we were speaking, the Chabam didn't listen, and they split up the Melucha. And Yerabim ben Nevat took over the other Shvatim, and then at Avegishtel Getchkes, that the people he didn't want they should go up to Yerushalayim. He was Machdes Harabim. And there it says Lashon Asher. So Asher is, you're saying, wherever it says Asher is Va'il, is a praise, there it cannot be a praise. As you want to shani the shani kabed buri. Here it's different. Asher means praise. Why? Because all the psukim here says im, and all of a sudden it's changed to Asher. So that's where Asher means it's a praise. What is this that it says in the pasuk Yeshevel Asher nas al aretz, that the tzaddikim that reach with their that they get like the Rishayim, meaning Ashayim latzadikim shemagi aleim kemais harashayim shalolim haba. The tzadikim get punished in this world, like the Rishayim get punished in the world to come, and oila having Rishayim shemagi aleim kemais hatzadikim shalolim haba belim hazeh. And why is to the Rishayim that they receive their schar in this world, like the tzaddikim receive in the world to come.
So you want to win some more?
Oh, so Rabbi is upset. Rabbi was a gevir. He's saying, I have to suffer. I'm not suffering, Baruch Hashem. I have a lot of money. So he says, Ata tzadiki yachli tei almi means son. What if he has both worlds? It's a bad thing. It's going to be a problem. So Rabbi said, Hashem la tzadikim shemagi aleim kimais Hashem shalel bazeh. Violence to tzadikim that they get like the Rishonim get in this world. But the Rishonim that get in this world, like the tzaddikim get in the Olam Haba, is a void for them. Because later on they get the klep. They came before Rabbi. I keep the Masech Plan, Masech Plan. Did you learn through these two Masechtas? You know it well. Yeah, we know the Masechtas well. They said, how do you have time to learn? They said yes. Okay, so he says, Porta. He says, do you have a little money to support yourself? They said, yeah. There's the Katina Dahara. We bought real estate. Kari Alayo, huh? Kari Alayo. Hashem la tzadikim shemagi alayim k'mais Hashem shebeilu hazeh beilu hazeh. Violence to tzadikim that they get the gashmis in this world, like the Rishonim get in this world. Right.
You're like a storybook.
Right.
Like
So Rabbi said in the name of Yachim, what is this that it says? Ki Yisham Dach Hashem. Upright is the ways of Hashem, and tzaddik miyachol bo, peishim yikashol bo. So mashal shnei bnei adam shetzol kischayim. In a mashal of two people, they roasted their carbon pesach. Echad achalu l'shum mitzvah, v'achal l'shum achila gasa. One ate it for the l'shum mitzvah of carbon pesach, and the other one was pasha hungry, he needed to fill up his stomach. Zeh shachal l'shum mitzvah tzaddik miyachol bo. The one that ate l'shum mitzvah tzaddik miyachol bo. Zeh shachal l'shum achila gasa, or peishim yikashol bo. The one that ate it to fill up his stomach is the patient. Rasha Karaslay. Why are you calling him a Rasha? Maybe he didn't know. He didn't do a mitzvah in Avila, but Pesach Mikra like Achol. He did the mitzvah. He ate the carbon Pesach. Each one had his wife with his sister in the house. One lived with his wife, so he's a tzaddik. One lived with his wife's sister. It's a little of a problem. Because the one that lived with his wife's sister, that's Paishmir. That's still, I'm not coming in the Chada Derech. Here you're talking about two drachim, two women, two separate women. I'm talking about in one path. They're doing the same thing. One is a tzaddik and one is a rasha. And the marshal is Loit Ushnei Bnei Yisrael. Loit and his two daughters. They had in mind. They said the world is over. So they want to have kids. Tzaddikim Yochanan. They wrote tzaddikim. Who should discover Shem Aveda? He who was discovered Shem Aveda. There was a story with Moshe Feinstein that was said, "Oh, was it Geret and King the Tacht of Loit." And he had a dream that the Bnei Slate came to him. So he was sick in the morning, and he told him, Moshe Feinstein says, you're not going to make it through. And he died. Yeah. Maybe he had a mind for a mitzvah. You read every word in this passage, you'll see he had a mind for znus. It says, Vatisa, by Yisa Lloyd, Vatisa Eshes HaBen now. The Lashon Vatisa is by Potiphar. She lifted his eyes to grab Yosef. So Zima, as Einov, by Shimshon. Shimshon wanted Delilah. What does it say? By Yem Shimshon, I say, Kakli, Yashim Einoi. And Lloyd used Einoi. Saying from Znus. By Yad is also. Where do we see it? By Yad is Shechem Ben Chamer, it's called Kigayad. Shechem Ben Chamer saw the whole land. Gibyad Isha Zainam, Ad Kikelachem. because of this Isha Zainab. So, because he wanted this news, is the lechem by Falent given nothing. No more. When somebody's into this news, he loses everything. Tikul Mashka is also a union from Zima. It says, I'll go after my beloved ones, so you see, mashke that's mentioned in this pasuk is mentioned b'negei to Zima, the b'negei to Znus. In fact, what about Menes Anis? Loit was an onus. They gave him to drink. Well, what's that he can come? When it says he didn't know. It says lo yoda. The shichva uvekuma, but the vav is mitapintala. Levelach shebeshichva lo yada. When he lied down, he didn't know. But bekuma yada, when he got up, he knew exactly what happened. Might have like yeah. In fact, you wonder what should he have done. Might have it happened already. Like you want to knock him in the second round, he shouldn't have gone and drank, and that's why he was a pusher. We'll stop here.